One of the most surprising scenes we've seen in the Oval Office in the last few weeks and months was when the new mayor of New York, Zora Mandani, came to meet Donald Trump. These are two men who have been trading insults.
Two men who spent months insulting each other, suddenly smiling, shaking hands, and praising one another in the Oval Office. A Democratic socialist mayor-elect who once called Donald Trump a fascist, and Donald Trump, the Republican president who mocked him as a communist. So what is actually happening here? Strategy, diplomacy, or a political plot twist no one saw coming?
That was the meeting he had with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And we're just going to talk a little bit more about that and the consequences of it, because we know our listeners are interested. We mentioned it the other day, but we didn't get into in depth why it was that the pair of them who had basically...
This wasn't just another White House meeting. This was a political earthquake. Zoran Mandani, a 34-year-old Democratic socialist, had just won one of the biggest upsets in U.S. city politics. Trump, meanwhile, had spent months attacking him as a radical communist. Yet the moment they met, all of that hostility evaporated. But why?
Asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mandani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought.
What made headlines wasn't just the handshake, it was the tone. Trump joked with him, defended him, even praised him. At one point he said, "We agree on a lot more than I thought." For a man known for confrontation, Trump looked almost welcoming.
Has eaten this thing up. You know, I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting, that you people have gone crazy. You know, outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group.
Even Trump admitted the media frenzy caught him off guard. And that tells us something important. This meeting wasn't just optics. It was political theater with purpose. Trump has wanted popularity in New York for years. It's the city that rejected him politically, even though he built much of his brand there. So when Mandani, a mayor who won over 50% of the vote, walked into the Oval Office, Trump saw something valuable. A chance to reconnect with New Yorkers who care only about one thing: affordability.
I mean, it might sound completely bizarre, but there are quite a number of people who voted for Donald Trump in 2024 and 1 year later voted for Zora Mandani.
And yes, it's true. Many working-class New Yorkers voted for Trump in 2024 and then voted for Mandani 1 year later. Trump knows this. Mandani knows this. And that overlap makes cooperation politically useful for both.
Very clear. Do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation...
He didn't walk them back. He still called Trump a fascist, even after the friendly Oval Office meeting. But he did show something rare in American politics: the ability to disagree openly while still working together where it matters. Because whether Mandani likes it or not, Trump still controls heavy checkmark federal transit funding, heavy checkmark housing grants, heavy checkmark infrastructure money, heavy checkmark the power to send or withhold the National Guard. Mandani can't afford Trump as an enemy, but a neutral Trump, or even a soft Trump, that makes Mandani's job much easier.
Yeah, I think that may be where friction comes back, because Mandani has already called for higher taxes on the wealthy in New York City to pay for a lot of these programs, to pay for the free buses that he wants to provide, to pay for the grocery stores that he would build.
This is where the partnership hits a wall. Mandani's entire agenda relies on taxing the wealthy to pay for heavy checkmark free fast buses, heavy checkmark grocery subsidies, heavy checkmark universal childcare, heavy checkmark affordable housing. Trump's entire ideology is the opposite: cut taxes for the rich. That's not a small disagreement. That's a foundational one. And at some point, one of them will have to break.
Much, much harder, don't it, for them to say this guy is just unacceptable in American politics?
Yeah, I think that's a very real challenge for the Republicans. They were building an entire midterm election strategy.
Republicans were counting on Mandani to be the perfect villain, the face of dangerous socialism they could use in the 2025 midterms. But now, there are photos of Trump grinning beside him, laughing with him, patting him on the arm. The narrative cracks instantly. You can't call someone a radical communist threat while your own candidate is hugging him in the Oval Office.
Funds from New York if Mandani was elected, and he could always go back to threatening that. Are they necessary? Is that a huge part of New York finances? Does it matter?
Well, I think the relations with Albany, the New York state capital, and Hochul is going to be more important for what he wants. But yeah, Donald Trump could really hurt New York City if he wanted to put the squeeze on it. We already saw some signs of that in the run-up to November's election.
Trump may smile in the Oval Office, but he still holds the power to squeeze New York City hard. Cut transit funding, block tunnel projects, delay housing grants, send the National Guard. Mandani knows the risks. A war with Trump could cripple his whole agenda before it even begins.
With Kathy Hochul, the governor there in Albany, where you are. Does it seem like they have a warm relations? And is Hochul going to cooperate with Mamdani in order to get the...
Believe it or not, Mandani's biggest challenge isn't Donald Trump. It's New York's governor, Kathy Hochul. She's moderate. He's far left. She controls heavy checkmark taxes, heavy checkmark state budget, heavy checkmark childcare funding, heavy checkmark transit rules, heavy checkmark housing approvals. If she doesn't cooperate, Mandani's agenda stalls.
Well, it's also important to keep in mind here that the words mercurial, temperamental, they apply to Donald Trump. And in some respects, I was talking to a few New York Republicans in the aftermath of this meeting, and they were telling me, look, Donald Trump may very well wake up tomorrow morning and decide to put on Truth Social how Zoran Mamdani is a loser and a communist because he saw Mamdani say something mean about him on TV and he reacted, and all of this is over.
Multiple analysts said the same thing. This friendship could end tomorrow. Trump is unpredictable. Mandani is outspoken. One angry tweet, one interview clip, one political insult, and the relationship collapses overnight. The Oval Office meeting wasn't about friendship. It wasn't about forgiveness. And it definitely wasn't about ideology. It was about something far more powerful in politics: mutual necessity. Trump needs popularity in New York. Mandani needs federal cooperation. They don't have to like each other. They just have to survive each other. And for now, that handshake was the price of peace.